Hello again. Welcome to my first sponsored video, so I hope it all goes to plan. So I'm really pleased to show you the new SmartShow NetPixel Mini. This is a dual universe pixel driver, and don't worry, I'll explain all that later on. In the package you get the network cable and you get the controller itself, as well as a set of instructions which are very good, and you can actually download these from the website as well as a PDF. I'll put those to one side for the time being, and we'll have a closer look at the controller itself. The controller itself is actually quite small, so including the connector at the end, it's 72 millimeters long. The width of it is about 25 millimeters, and the height is roughly about 29 millimeters. So it's quite a small controller. Zoom out a little bit, there we go. The end connector is just one of these that just push on, and it's quite good actually because it's a lot easier to connect cables with the connector off the controller and then plug it in. You can't get it the wrong way around because it's keyed, so you can only go that way around for the controller. So looking around it, on the label on this side you've got the default IP, which is 192.168.1.200. You can write in this white space your own IP if you change it, and it's got the website address on there. Other two sides are blank, and then this side you've got the main name, the SmartShow NetPixel Mini Dual Universe Pixel Driver, and you've got the LED here, and there's also a reset switch that you just press it and it will reset it. So let's power it up and then I'll show you what this LED does. So some of the things that I'm going to be using in this video, here is my matrix that I'm going to use. It's 17 LEDs across and it's 20 rows down. Now that will give me two universes, so the first 10 lines are 170 LEDs, which if you times that by 3, gives you the maximum that you can have for one universe, and then the second 10 lines will be the second universe. Input is here on the top left hand corner, and I've got power injection both halfway here and at the end here as well, so if we just need to add any power, we can do. Normally I'll insert power at the top and power in the middle, and that's absolutely fine. I do sometimes use this just to check what the power is at the end, and if the display is particularly bright or something like that, then I can inject in there as well. I'm also going to use this, which is a AC to DC transformer. The output is 5 volt at 20 amps, which is plenty to run the matrix that we've got here. Just a note about this, just be careful because you are looking at live mains voltage coming in, and you've got the output here of the 5 volts. So just leave that to one side. So let's grab a cable. So this is just normal cable, red and black, that we're going to use. We're going to use a couple of these connectors here. So zoom in a bit so you can see. So we'll plug or we'll just push the red into there, grab another connector and we'll push the black into there, like so. From our transformer here, this is the blue cable, which is the ground, so we'll put that in there, like that, and the red, which is the positive, put that in there, like so, and that gives us power from the transformer. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll connect onto this. So if we look at the end of the controller, if you can see that all right, we've got, find something to point with, there we go. So at the end here we've got our ground connection, middle pin is our data connection, and our right hand side is the power connection. And as you can see, it will accept power from 5 to 24 volts depending on what power your LEDs are, and the information is written on both sides, which is a real big help, because various times you're looking at these from some strange angles when it's all mounted up. So it's really handy that that information is actually printed twice. Right, so let us have a look. So it's on the right hand side one here, so that slots in there like that. So our right hand side one is the plus 5 volts. So get our cable, plus 5 volts goes in there, and then our ground goes on the left hand side. Just twist those cables together a bit, there we go. Tighten that up. Okay, so the middle pin, don't forget, is the data pin, so that's why that's not connected at the moment. So right hand side is plus 5 and left hand side is ground, and we plug that into the controller like so. Right, let us power it up. Right, I've turned the desk lights off so it's a bit easier to see. So my transformer's on the left hand side here, and I'm going to power it up now, and you'll be able to see that the LED flashes. There we go. Now I hope you can see that. It's actually blue with a red flash. There we go, like that. Now you may be wondering why there's some flashing going on. Well, what it does, because there's no digital display for the IP number, it's actually showing the IP number by a series of dots. So what it will do is it will show the number, so 192. So if it's a 1, it will flash once. If it's a 9, it will flash 9 times. If it's a 2, it will flash twice. And you'll see it go off as well. So for example, if the IP number is 192.168, obviously it can't show a dot, so that's why the light will go out where the dot is. So 192 dot or blank 168, so for the 168 it will flash once, and then 6 times, and then 8 times, go off again, and then 1, go off, etc. So let's just do that again. There we go. So 1, 9, 2, then it goes off, 1, 6, 8, goes off, comes back on again, 1, goes off. Now that was a 2 and a 0. Now it'd be difficult to put a 0 in a flashing light, so actually 10 flashes of the red is a 0. And once it's finished, it'll go off and then come back on again as the blue, and we now know that it's ready. So at the bottom of the screen, while that's been going on, I've put the numbers on there so you can understand what's going on. Okay, I hope that's clear for you. So I'll now put the desk lights back on again. Okay, desk lights are back on again, so we can continue wiring it up. So what do we need to do now? Well, the next thing we need to do is to connect this to our matrix and see what output that we can get on it. So let me just switch the controller off. It's still on. There we go. And if you remember on the matrix, which is still there, we had power that comes in the top and in the middle as well, and at the end. The end one, I'm just going to push that cable to one side because we're not going to use that for a while, so let's just ignore that one. This one we can connect up because it's just power. So this is our connector. So I'm going to pull out the cable for the ground. On my example, for my matrix, I've got one cable with a black strand with a black line on it. That is a positive, and then this one is just a white cable. That is ground by itself. So I'm just going to link that one with the ground that we are using for the controller. Twist that together, and then we can pop that back in there. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing for the positive 5 volts. So just pop that out there. Connect that in, and then push that into there as well. So what's it going to do now is that when the power comes in, it's going to power the controller and the middle part of the board above us. So we now need to look at connecting the data signal to this and the power to the top of the matrix. Right, so we've now got a connector. This is a male connector. I think these are called JST or something like that. We've got 3 connections on here. We've got the red and the white, which is the plus 5 volts on the ground, and the data, which is in the center. I've also got a bit of 3-core cable here, which is the same. It's just white, data in the middle, and red on the other side for the plus 5 volts. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to strip the ends of these, twist them onto these cables so they connect up. I'm not going to solder it at the moment because I'm just going to do this on the bench, and this is just a test rig just to demonstrate the controller. But if I was doing this properly, I would obviously solder these up and protect them properly. But just for this demonstration, I'm just going to use some black tape just to protect the wires. Right, so now we've got the connector here connected to positive to positive, the data to data, and the ground to ground, and they're all protected by some black tape. Our long cable, and then we've got the ends here. So let us now connect these up. So just like before, here we have our power. So the blue is the ground, so let's put the ground in there as well. That's connected. The red, which is the positive, the plus 5 volts, that goes in there like that. And we have the data, and the data, don't forget, goes in the middle pin for the controller. So we just disconnect that from there. Push that like so. Tighten up the screw. And we're ready to rumble. So let us connect this up to the matrix now. Okay, that's connected. The transformer is here. It is currently turned off. The controller here, the transformer's there, but it's turned off. Controller's here, ready to go, and we've got the matrix in front of us. So the next thing we need to do is to connect it to the network. Connect it to the network. I'm going to use my bench network cable. You just plug it in like so. When we do power up, by the way, at this end, you've got the two lights for the Ethernet. One light will show constantly when it's linked, because that'll be a link light, and then the other one will flash. It's got ACT underneath it, which means there's an activity light, but I'll show you that as well happening. Currently it's switched off, so we'll plug that into there. It does go through a small switch on my desk to my computer, and we'll run some testing from the PC. Right, so we need to set our computer so we can see the controller. If we click on the Windows key and we type in CMD and go to command prompt, we can type in a couple of commands. First of all, ipconfig. This gives us the current configuration, so an IP number for our current machine is shown just there. If I try and connect to the controller by typing in the command ping and typing in the IP number for the controller, it's going to time out. It's not going to be able to find it. So we need to set our network card so we can see the controller. So down here we've got a little icon for the network. If we right click on that and go to open network, and we select the change adapter settings from the menu on the left hand side here, there's our network card. If we highlight it, so we just left click once to highlight it, right click once and go to properties, the one that we're looking for is the one here. It says Internet Protocol version 4. If we click on that once to highlight it, then we click on properties. Here we change it from an automatic IP to use the following. Now we're going to type in 192.168.1. Now the controller is 200, so we don't want to set it the same as that, so we're going to set ours to 100. I'm going to click down into where it says subnet mask. Just click down there with your mouse and it will automatically put in those numbers for you. You don't need to do anything else. Press OK, press close, close those windows down. Now let's go back into command prompt again, and just to check to make sure that everything's saved okay, we type in ipconfig, and there's the IP number just there that we've just set. And we can type in the other command to see if we can see it alright, which is ping, so 192.168.1.200, and you see now we're getting a response from the controller, so the computer can now see the controller. So let's have a look at the controller. Go into our web page and type in the IP number for the controller, which is 192.168.1.200, and there's the settings page. Let's go through it one by one. First of all, at the top we have the address of the controller itself, which is 200. Don't forget that if you do change this and you press save, you will lose connection, so you will have to retype in the address in here to connect again. Subnet mask is set for 255.255.255.0. Normally you would just leave that as it is. For most networks that's set exactly the same. Only change this if you know what you're doing for A, B and C. If you look at the instruction booklet, it will tell you what the different subnet masks are, but to be honest with you, for most people you can leave that as it is. The MAC address is unique to the network card on the device, so again you can't change that, and that's set. The next section here is what protocol you're going to use. Normally I use Art-Net, but I know for some of the holiday lighting and commercial lighting, they use this E131 standard. I'm going to leave it at Art-Net for the time being, because that's the one that I use for the lights. With Art-Net you get different universes, and you'll see this later on when we come to look at X-Lights, where you have to set the universe that you're using. For most cases it will start at universe 0, but in some cases it does actually start with universe 1. And again, it's mainly determined by the software that you're using. So for the time being, I'm going to leave that as universe 0. The next section is to do with the pixel types and options. I'm going to go into more depth later on to tell you what the X1 and X2 is. For the time being, I'm going to leave it as X1, but if you watch later on, you'll see what X2 does. And also DMX mode as well. I'll do a different section on DMX mode, so watch out for that later on. The pixel type is down here. The RG swap is red-green swap. Now, sometimes your pixels are RGB, which is red, green, blue. Sometimes they're GRB, which is green, red, blue. Sometimes the controllers, sometimes the software will only output one type. Say your controller will only output RGB, but your lights may be GRB. So that's why you've got this option here to swap the red and the green channels round. You've also got the option here if you're using 4-channel LEDs for red, green, blue and white as well. And there's another one here, the UCS, which is a different type of pixel as well, so you can tick that box there. I'll come back to pixel test in a second, and down here we've got the copyright and a button here to reboot if you want to as well. So let's have a look at these pixel test options here. So for the pixel test we have 1, 2, 3 and off. If we select 1 and we press save, then the lights come on. Ours are red, so first channel is red, so the lights come on red. If we press 2 and we press save, then the lights will go green. If we press 3 and press save, then the lights will go blue, so it's RGB. And if we select off, of course they go off. Now you can also do a little pattern, although it's not strictly a pattern. The lights I'm using are 3-channel, which is RGB, which is red, green and blue. I'm not using red, green and blue, white, but if you select RGB plus W and press save, and then you select number 1 and press save, you will see that the lights will actually create a little pattern. That's because it's 4-channel instead of 3. And we can do the same for 2, and we can do the same for 3, and you'll see that the lights slightly change, and now we've got a 4 obviously because they should be white, and the lights change again and we can go off. So that's just something that you can do if you just got 3 channels and you just want to check a little pattern, although strictly that's not right. So there you go, that's what the pixel test there does. Once you've finished making all your changes and you press save, as you see it saves it on the fly, and it reloads the page, and it outputs the changes to the LEDs as well. And if you want to reboot, you can press the reboot button there as well. And when you do the reboot, of course, it then goes through the flashing lights for the IP number, and then we can just refresh the page and there it comes back again. Okay, so let's try one of our 2 programs. We've got X-Lights and we've got Jinx installed on our PCs. So we're first of all going to go into Jinx. This is the software here, and we need to set this up so we can control the LEDs. First thing we do is go into Setup and then Matrix Options. So the width of our LEDs is 17 LEDs in width, and the height is 20. So we've got 17 LEDs going from left to right, and we've got 20 rows, and that gives us a total of 340. So let's press OK. Next thing we'll do is go to Output Devices, and we click the Add button. We need to make sure that we're set for Art-Net, and we untick the one that says Broadcast just there. We can set our IP number for the controller, which is 192.168.1.200, and the channels will change that to 510. This is because it's actually slightly over for 512 because that's based on the DMX channels, but for what we're using is for one universe is 510. Press OK, and because we've actually got more than 170 LEDs because we're on a 2 universe matrix, we need to add another controller. Untick the broadcast button again. We type in the same IP number as we did before, but with this time we change the universe to 1, and this will become more obvious later on. Again we change that to 510 and we press OK. So now you can see we've got 2 controllers or 2 output devices, same IP because we're using the same controller, but we've got universe 0 and universe 1. Press close, go to setup again, and we go to output patch. Now if you remember when we talked about the matrix, the signal comes in here, goes across that top line, snakes round to the bottom line, snakes round to the third line, snakes round to the fourth line, etc. So if we click on fast patch, so our dimensions across are 17. Now this time we're only going to be doing one universe, which is the top universe, so we're only going to be doing the first 10 lines. Here we've got the output patch mode, and you can see where it says line wise starting top left and all these different options down here. Well, don't forget ours is snaked. The actual signal is snaked across, so it goes from the top, snakes down to the next, snakes down to the next. So that's why we select snake lines starting top left. The order of our LEDs are green, blue and red, and the output device, patch device, is 0 because we're doing the top half of the grid here. Press OK, and you can see it's already changed the colour because it's already patched those in for us. Double click on line 11, go to fast patch again, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. 17 across, 10 down, snake lines, GRB, but this time we're going to change the patch device to universe 1. Press OK, and you can see it's done. So the top half, the top section here is universe 0, and the bottom half down here is universe 1. Press close, and next thing we do is go to setup and start output. Now nothing's happened, but we've selected start output is there, so let's go to color scroll, and there we go. We've got an output to the matrix, and we're scrolling color across the matrix. Right, so let's have a quick look at X-Lights. So X-Lights is a free program that people use for doing Halloween and Christmas effects outside the houses. I won't go into full details of X-Lights because there's tons of information on YouTube that can help you with it, but just to go through how to set up this controller. First of all, we go to add Ethernet and we give it a name, so SmartShow number 1, and we give it the IP number of the controller, which is 192.168.1.200. You can use E131 protocol, but I'm going to change it to Art-Net. If we change it to Art-Net, our start universe is 0, and the controller can output 2 universes, and each universe is 510. So that's how we set up the controller. So we're starting universe is 0. If you've got multiple ones, multiple controllers, and you've already got a controller that's on a start universe of 0 and it's got 2, then our next controller will have a start universe of 0, 1, 2. So that will be a start universe of 2 and 2. I hope you understand that. So we're going to go with 0 because this is only one that we've got on the network at the moment. So save that, go to layout, and we'll add in a matrix just there. Now there's certain things that we've got to do with the matrix. First of all, make sure the direction is horizontal. The number of strings is actually how many cables is connected to the controller to the matrix. So in our case there's only one. The number of nodes and strings, this is the total number of LEDs that we've got. So we've got 2 universes, which is 170 LEDs, which is 340 in total. And the number of strands is 20, because we've got 20 lines going down. Now we can just expand that out, and that will give us the matrix in the full glory, if you like. Starting location is in the top left in our example. Now the start channel, we have to change this one. If you click on that, it's got a little option key here. So go into that and select the controller from the drop down box here. So select the controller. In our case it's SmartShow 1, because we've only got one controller on the network. Okay, once that's done, click save, and we can go into the sequencer. So for this example, I'm just going to do a quick animation. If you want to do bring this part of a big display, then you'll have multiple controllers on there, but just for this example we're going to just do the one. I'm just going to make a little bit more room so we can see what's going on. So I'm just going to get rid of a couple of these options here and bring that down here. Oops. There we go. Sorry about the break, just had a phone call came through, so let's carry on now. First of all, I like to put a border on, so we'll select the marquee up there, drop that onto our timeline, stretch that out like so, and we just highlight that and we click the output to lights just there, and as you can see the output is now going to the matrix. So a few things that we can do to play about with this. First of all, let's look at the brightness, because the brightness is way too high at the moment. So let's knock that down to say 50%. That's better, that's looking better. Also up here we've got the colours as well. So at the moment we've just got the 2. So let's take the white off and then we'll add some more colours in as well. There we go, that makes it look better, doesn't it? Lots of different colours on there as well. That's not also what we can do. We can add lots of different things to this. So let's just switch off the output. I'm going to right click on where it says matrix and I'm going to insert a layer below this. So we've now got a number 2 just there, so that's a layer below. And for this I'm going to add in some text. So let's bring up the text option. Whoops, do that again. There we go. Again, stretch that out. There we go. And we'll add in some text into this. So Mike's LED shed. We can change the font on here. I like the Tahoma font. We'll make it bold, make it 12. We'll see what that looks like in a moment. And what else can we do on there? Oh, movement, that's what we need to do, and we're going to move it left. Okay, right, let's see what happens now. So we'll click the output, and as you can see it's now outputting text. Again, it's a bit fast, so let's slow that down a bit. So let's make it a 5, so that's better. What else can we do? Oh, we can increase the size of it. So let's go back into here and make it a bit bigger, so make it 20. There we go, that's fine, that fits it fine. Now you may be wondering, oh, this is all very well, but what can you do with this? Well, I know a lot of the people who do the Halloween and the Christmas lights, they have music playing because they can sync their lights to the music. So what we can do on here is for example, if I was broadcasting some music, I can say tune in to 96 megahertz FM. There we go, and that can be part of the display as well, because I know a lot of them use the music as well. Let's let that scroll through so you can see. Right, okay, now you'll see occasionally there'll be a gap, a space where there should be a letter or a number. Now because we've got the black selected up there at the top, so let's untick the black, and then we should be able to have all the colours changing like we want to, but without any actual gaps showing. There we go. Right, okay, so let's just switch that off again. Now I'm going to remove the text layer by just selecting it and pressing the delete key, because there's something else I want to show you. Now if you remember, when we output just the border, we've got these different colours at the top, so I'm going to unselect all of them apart from the red, green and blue. In fact, I'm going to go less than that. I'm just going to go for red. Now as you see, I've got red selected in the software, but the border is actually green. So let's untick the red and tick the green, and that goes to red. So there's a mismatch here as to why we're getting this problem now with these two channels mixed up. Well, if you remember, when we go into the software, which I need to switch the output off first, there we go. So if we go back into the controller software, we've got this option here for RG swap, which is a red-green swap. So let's tick that and press save. Minimize that down. Now we select the output, and you'll see that green is now green, red is now red. So that's now, notice that using this option will actually swap the two channels round, so therefore we get a proper colour output. There we go. Now let's drop the text back down there. Let's just switch that off for a second. Add some text. There we go. Now we can select the output. It's not moving because we haven't told it what to do. So movement is left. There we go. Just drop the speed down a bit. As you can see, the output is now output in there. There's lots of other different controls and customization you can do on this. Again, I say I won't go into it because there's loads of information on YouTube that if you just search for X-Lights, then you can have a look at that. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll just explain, by the way, why it's not showing the end bit of the text. Because we are only doing this in test mode, it will only output a certain amount of information. We're not actually part of a full show yet, we're just demoing this, so that's why it's not showing you the whole text. So don't panic, it's not a problem. It's just that this is just in test mode. So that's why it's not showing the whole text. So let's get rid of that. For example, change it to there, and there's the rest of the text. So don't panic if this say it's not showing the whole text. This is just because it's in test mode. Another feature that's built into the controller is DMX mode. So we've got the controller page up on the screen at the moment, and if we select DMX mode just here in the middle and press save, there we go, and we're just going to minimize that out of the way. So let's go back into X-Lights, and we're going to add the controller in again from scratch. So we'll add Ethernet, give it a name. So we're going to call it SmartShow DMX. Give it the IP number, which is 192.168.1.200. Change it to Art-Net. And so our start universe is 0, and the universe count on this is 2. Okay, so far so good. So we've got 510 per channel, and we've got two universes counting there. So you may ask me, why did I not select on this drop down DMX if we're setting up a DMX controller? Well, if you remember in here, we've got the protocol is Art-Net, but we're actually going to be outputting DMX. So we've got DMX selected here, and we've got our DMX start channel as to number 1, and this it'll become a little bit clearer later on what that means, but our start channel for DMX is channel 1. Okay, so let's save that. Let's go into layout, and we're going to add just this time just a string of LEDs, a single string. So we've got one string, and in our string we've got 2 universes, so we've got 340 LEDs. Our start channel is number 1, and although we've got the matrix, just think of it as one long straight line. So let's press save on that, and then we'll go into sequencer. Just get rid of these to give it a little bit more room. There we go, and we're going to do a quick animation. So our string, our single line, is on the timeline there. So let's drop in a DMX control to our timeline. Let's expand it out a bit, and you'll see that the channels have appeared here on the left hand side. So let's switch on output, and let's see what happens. So we bring the first channel up, which is red, and it's showing red on the matrix, green and blue as well. So what this does is it allows you just to break out the channels and just send out a signal to the whole string of LEDs, because that's it's in DMX mode. So if you wanted your whole string to go green, there we go, or your whole string to go red, there you go. And of course you can add more channels as well for different devices, but we've only got one device on it at the moment. So that's the DMX mode for the controller. Right, the controller has another trick up its sleeve. At the moment we've got this pattern showing. Let's just turn the output on so you can have a look at that. There we go. So we've got that pattern showing at the moment. We'll turn it off again. And I'm going to show you how this works. First of all, we're going to change it to scrolling text because it's easier to see when we've got the text on. We'll just edit that, and we'll change the text. Mike's LED shed, and we're going to just turn the bold off, and we're going to reduce the size down. There we go. And I'm going to change the position of that so it's now at the top, right at the top of the matrix. There we go. Let's add some colour, so we're just going to switch on the auto colour at the bottom. Right, so that's scrolling up at the top there. Okay, and we'll stick the output on so you can have a look. There we go, a little bit fast, so let's just slow that down a bit. There we go. So that's actually just in the top half of the matrix. It's only using the one universe at the moment. I'm only using the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, first 10 rows. So that's universe 1. What I can do in the software is switch the output off. So let's go into the controller software. we've got an option here called X2, and what that will do is it will output the same information from universe 1 to universe 2, and I'll show you what happens now. I'm not going to change anything else in the software, so I'm just going to save that. I haven't changed anything else on Jinx, but I'm going to switch the output on, and as you can see, it's now mirroring the information from the top universe onto the bottom universe as well. Now what does this mean? Well, if you've got 2 rows of LEDs, so you've got rows of LEDs going around your kitchen or round a window outside, and you want to mirror the information, you don't have to split the cable like you would have to in the past. You can set one universe up, and then the second one will automatically mirror what is being outputted on the top one. Hope that's okay. Hope that makes sense. Caught me out at first because I wondered what was going on, but yeah, that would actually help when you're doing lights. I say around the kitchen sideboard or outside windows. So there we have it, a very quick, very brief run through and setup of this quite powerful but very small controller for pixels. These are WS2812 LED pixels running on 5 volts like we said at the start, and it just works. It's a bit like the Ronsil, it does exactly what it says on the tin. So I hope you enjoyed that overview of the controller. I want to say thank you to SmartShow for providing me with this to demonstrate to you as well. So pop over to their website. I'll put a description down below, and you can also buy controllers yourself from eBay. I believe this one is going to be sold for about £60 on eBay, which is very cheap for what you get. Very hard wearing. Yeah, so oh, I almost forgot, we've got this as well. Hang on a minute, let me just show you this other bit. Let me show you this other bracket that you can get as well. First thing I need to do is to switch off the power supply, because I don't want to get any problems with that. Let's just unplug my cables. There we go. So you may remember there's these brackets on here, and what are they used for? Well, this is a bracket that you often get in cabinets, mainly for sort of network cabinets or mounting cabinets in theatres, offices, that sort of stuff. So this is a bit of the mounting bracket that you get inside those. And what you can do is you can actually mount this bracket onto here, and then that slides into these brackets for mounting, like so. So let's do that. You need one of these star ended screwdrivers. This is a T8 and it's a 50mm end on it. So I'm just going to loosen these 4 screws at the end. So I'm not going to take them all the way out, I'm just loosening them up like so. That end plate then becomes loose, and then we can mount, or we can put this inside it like so. Okay, and then we can tighten the screws up again. Just going to make sure it's straight, which it is. Okay, so that's now in there, and then we can mount that on our bracket like that. So there we go. So that will be inside a cabinet or a display, like a shop window or something like that, and that will keep that safe if it's mounted on these brackets. There's the reverse side of it. You can see where it's actually connected on the back there. And to remove it, we just do exactly the same thing, but in reverse. We just loosen off these screws. Remove the bracket and tighten them up again. So there we go, one SmartShow NetPixel Mini 2 Universe or 1 Universe mirrored controller. Hope you enjoyed watching that. If you like what I do, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe as well, and catch me again later for some more videos. Thank you very much to SmartShow as well for providing this.